Okay, well, we are live at the House of Blues in New Orleans during HIMSS'13. I'm Neil Versel. This is Johnathan Bush, CEO of Athenahealth.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Neil, for having me on your show.
Well, thanks for hosting the party and, more importantly, for paying for the refreshments.
A beat a beer is the only way to be in New Orleans.
That's correct. So we're going to let the good times roll right here at the House of Blues and talk a little health IT while the whole party is gathering around us here. So it's been an interesting year. It's been an eventful year for Athenahealth already, 2013, because you've, among other things, well, probably the most significant is that you acquired Hippocrates.
Yes, we are, most of us, really long-time fans of Hippocrates, like since the year they started. They started the year after us.
Yeah.
The same vintage of attitude and energy.
Yep.
And they've been much more successful at getting brand awareness and market share than we have. We've probably found a better business model.
1.5 million clinicians or something like that?
Yeah, and half the practicing physicians in the United States.
Yeah.
Which for the cloud is a big deal because physicians don't have a lot of opportunity to do their work on the cloud.
Not just cloud, but mobile too.
Mobile cloud, absolutely.
Yeah. Now this, I have to give a shout out to Brian Dolan, editor of Moby Health News, because he actually called.
You go, Brian.
He actually called the Athenahealth Hippocrates.
He did not.
He kind of called it.
Inside information, Brian. I can't believe he knew that.
He didn't know.
The fact that I've been telling anyone who would listen for the last 13 years,
just
knew that.
Okay, well, just nobody listens to
No one listens.
business people anyway. So, what is it going to do with your core business? How's the integration going? It's really your first big foray into mobile, anyways. You've been sort of playing around the edges of mobile, and now you've got 1.5 million clinicians.
It's not our first foray into mobile, but it certainly is. When you think of mobile, you think of that openness and the virality of the spread of an app, and that, I mean, we have about half the doctors on Athena Clinicals using their iPhone app, their Athena Clinicals iPhone app, but it's not the same as being able to connect to the wide world through your iPhone the way most of us associate, and that's what Hippocrates, we hope, will enable. Today, Hippocrates is a phenomenally well curated, phenomenally well edited, read-only clinical app to support clinical decisions. Their whole hedgehog is, they're going to make money making doctors be more efficient making the right clinical decisions. That clinical decision support is what they've gotten good at, but only with drugs. Right. So we can do diagnostics. And everyone's now saying, well, why'd you order a PET scan? Why'd you order an MRI versus a CAT scan? Nobody has access in corner cases. Those guys can do that. And then, of course, the big deal.
And by the way, utilization is going to become a little bit important as we move into bundle.
Oh, hell's bells it is. That's right.
So,
and if there's no ability for a doctor to get insight in the moment of care, they're carrying around a new kind of liability that we want to protect them from. Right. So that leads to Athena, kind of the big opportunity for synergy between our companies is Athena has pipes, right? We're connected to every insurance company. There's 35,000 different clinical caregiver systems, Epic systems, Cerner systems, Allstrip systems, whatever, that we're connected into all over the country. If you could not just look up a diagnostic, but order it, not just look up the right doctor for a given consult, but actually send the patient, that's a real breakthrough. That's a real change. And our pipes and their market share and the trust that goes with that market share, that they're not going to serve up a bad decision, we think is going to be the big deal of the merger.
Okay. So, another topic, of course, we want to talk about. Well, you're here tonight for you're calling it the Clarity in the Cloud party, but you've also got a funeral plan for software.
Yes, well, it's New Orleans, and my favorite part about New Orleans,
the jazz funerals.
That's right. So we wanted to have our own.
We're in the French Quarter, which supposedly is haunted. If you've ever taken the ghost tour here, I recommend it. By the way, I've done it before. So, have we found? Are there any? You know where the body's buried. Anyway,
well, so, I do believe that the cloud has got that enterprise software has that zombie-like unkillability, right? Just as we thought Allscripts was toast, the High Tech Act came along and brought it back to life, and it's kind of been marching numbly around for the last 4 years.
You thought they were okay? Well, that's a good segue into my next question.
Okay.
There's been a lot of criticism about the direction of meaningful use, about the efficacy of EHRs, whether they even magnify errors if they're not implemented properly. And I know you have some thoughts about that, about some of the big vendors
Right.
that I will not name, but I will let you name at will.
Well, in general, I think the problem with the kind of top-down controlling, we're going to make everybody better by caveat, is that only the people in the room are in the conversation. So there's a very small number of established HIT companies here. I mean, this is the classic cable. HIMSS to me is the classic cable TV comment. 68,000 channels and nothing's on.
Okay.
That you go around. Oh, look, it's the same goddamn system. 25 years later.
That's right. Well, that's true. But and it's also really the same thing. We've had this discussion before. That you said that the exhibit hall is like taking your kids to the car show or something.
That's it. The boat show. Yeah. You climb on, take off your socks, and get into the this ridiculous boat that you never really use once the boat show is over. But so my beef with meaningful use is it's this kind of weird oligopoly negotiation between way too small a number of vendors and the government. And it's sort of like, well, why don't we do this? And the higher end wonks want to make it all flows of information, and the vendors want to make it just, hey, show me a receipt that you bought software and you get a check, and they reach some negotiated settlement. But it's sort of like the Israelis and the Palestinians. They're not actually friends at the end of this treaty, right? And similarly, this is one of those things where you're never going to make these people actually be aligned in the same cause. There need to be crazy other players in the market. And the more regulatory barriers you make around it, the easier it is for the insiders to be lame and keep growing. And frankly, I have to say, now at our size, I'm afraid I have to admit that we're probably one of those insiders.
Yeah. Well, didn't one of your guys just take a job at CMS or something like that? Was it one of your? We
go in and out of CMS. We've never had anybody go to CMS. We've had a bunch of people come from CMS.
Yeah. It was in. Todd Park, of course, was the founder.
He went to CMS.
He went to
HHS. And then he went
now he's at the White House.
WHO.
Yeah. So you still. It's not like you guys never had your voice heard.
No, exactly. But, I mean. With all of our lobbying and energy and all of our big clients, we actually can benefit from this sick, cozy federal corporate relationship, but it's bad. I mean, I'm going to take advantage of it because it's my job.
Well, sure. Well, obviously, you've got your shareholders to be happy, and there's disruption in the market too. Certainly on the small practice end of it, Practice Fusion, for example.
Yeah, that's what we need more of.
I just said I wasn't going to name any names, but they've been real good at disrupting. Yeah. I've heard lots of criticism that their system doesn't connect to anything. Of course, I've heard the same criticism about Epic, and of course, tomorrow the biggest secret that everybody knows about is that McKesson and Cerner are going to be announcing this.
What makes you think it's only McKesson and Cerner, Neil?
That's who's going to be announcing it.
Oh, really?
Perhaps Johnathan knows something.
You intuited it here first.
Perhaps Johnathan knows something that we don't. AT&T's got a big announcement plan. Or sorry, Verizon has a big announcement plan tomorrow.
What, they've decided to be big and lame?
Oh, no. They have decided to be big and lame.
Okay.
They are, I believe
McKinsey tell them that, or was that their own decision?
We'll find out tomorrow.
All right.
We'll find out tomorrow, but they've got a big press conference plan where they're going to announce something dealing with HIE that involves big and small.
Systems.
Big. I don't know if it's big and lame, but they've got the moderator of that session is Bill Braithwaite, the guy who wrote the HIPAA regs. So
a very big, lame. Here's the problem. What we need, as you know, Neil, I mean, our points of view at a company are very clear. We need a healthy, open, sustainable market for health information exchange. The government isn't going to make people exchange with each other. People have to exchange with each other because they will make more money and do better when they do than when they don't. That's just a simple thing. That's possible. If the kickback laws were adjusted just so, and people were allowed to form up contract teams and contract for episodes of care, you would see information flowing. The technology exists and has existed for years. It's just a question of making that possible. And then there's other points of view that don't fit to your questions.
No, right. Now,
that's big.
Now, the thing that's been on my mind for a while, why haven't the private payers stepped up and said and demanded health information exchange? To say, we're not going to pay you, or we're going to pay you less, or are they just waiting?
My sense is there's no longer anyone home at the private payers.
Okay.
They had a period of renaissance where they actually kept the cost of healthcare below the rate of GDP growth for about 10 years, up through around 97 or 98. Then we started to have an internet boom. we all said, we're rich, we don't want any health plan to keep anything from us. We made it illegal for health plans to steer doctors based on cost. Illegal to do that? Like, what else do they do, right? We made it illegal to choose your own benefit plan, so all the health plans had to have the same basket of services. So how are they supposed to compete with each other? Well, the only thing left is just to create administrative synergies, so they just got bigger and bigger and bigger and more efficient on claims. And now they're just big and dumb and neutral. And so the question is, who will be the generation of shoppers?
Well, I'm waiting
who's next?
for the, you know, I've been hearing...
Could be the HIMSS members.
Well, it could be, but I've been hearing for years about the consumer revolution, but...
They made that illegal in the PAPACA. You know, the maximum deductible allowed in the new law for a health plan is $2,500. Well, if you get the odor of a hospital in one nostril, you've spent $2,500. So that's useless, right? So my only hope is that hospitals themselves or clinics become the shoppers. They become what the health plans were. They take the whole dollar and they shop and they say, we're actually too expensive for this.
But
let's get it cheaper.
they're still shopping on price and not on quality, and that's my biggest beef with the healthcare system is that there's no...
When you lose 48% of everything you order and spend $85,000 on a sick piece of care, nobody can begin to talk about quality. But once it tightens up, once this information starts flowing, definitions of quality will emerge.
We can't. We don't really have good ways of measuring quality. Just
we don't,
yet.
because there's no definitions.
Ratings, well, the rating systems that are out there really are based on
NCQA. Let's give everyone a mammogram, and whoever can count up the most mammogram claims
it's based on opinions. And
right.
I heard this is a good doctor, and it's affiliated with Harvard, so they
it must be good.
Yeah. So,
having gone to Harvard, I'm here to tell you that's not true.
Oh, okay.
They're not that good. They're just regular guys. They just smoke more pipes.
I'm sure that's true. And actually, if anybody was in the Physician IT Symposium and heard Dr. Larry Weed speak this afternoon, by the way,
I'm sure it was a packed house.
It was a packed house.
Really?
Yeah.
On a Sunday.
So on a Sunday, I'm going to have video on my blog soon, so there's a little plug for myself right there.
Yes.
The whole thing.
Versel.
Live. That isn't. We're live right now, by the way, which is why we're just completely winging it. With Johnathan, we have to just wing it, and we have to wing it with drinks in our hands too.
Cheers, Neil.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming to our party.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk to me again.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. So
and we're being
John. So Johnathan, any closing thoughts about what you expect at HIMSS? Is it just something you have to do every year?
I think it's taxes. You got to go and pay your HIMSS taxes. Okay. But you see a little trickle. You see the software companies start to demand of themselves the ability to exchange patients.
Yeah.
You see a lot more credibility and presence of companies like Athenahealth. So I'm an optimist. I'm seeing progress.
And we're seeing some Athena clones also. You guys.
And the Athena clones are exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, copying Athena. I mean, what greater form of flattery?
Well, right. Yeah.
So it's a good time.
Yeah.
It's morning in America, Neil.
Thank you, Johnathan Bush.
Thank you, Neil Versel.
Once again, live
independent blogger and truth seeker
from the House of Blues in New Orleans, and let's laissez les bons temps brûlés.